This is the middle class. It's been shrinking since the 70s, and this is how much people in the middle class earn today. Not sure if you caught that, so let me go back. If you look a little closer, more people who have left the middle class ended up better off financially than worse. But here's the thing, you don't actually have to be some multi-millionaire to escape the financial rat race. Heck, you don't even need to leave the middle class to get there. All you have to do is adopt a few simple behaviors and avoid a few others to get out of the financial rat race that most Americans face. By the end of this video, you're going to know exactly what to do to get out. The biggest bang for your buck is going to be working on moving yourself as far up the middle class income range as possible. I think we can all agree that trying to get by on $30,000 per year can be done, but it's rough and not ideal. If that same person slides themselves up to $90,000, then that's a pretty life-changing increase. I'd even argue that increasing your income by as little as $10,000 can be pretty darn life-changing. One thing my grandpa always said is that there aren't many problems that can't be solved with a little bit of time and a little bit of money. Here's the thing though, sliding yourself up that income scale takes some effort, planning, and time. You've got to handle the effort side of things on your own because I'm not your daddy, so I can't be by your side 24/7. But I can show you how to plan it all out using my exclusive $1.5 million income projection planner. It's worth that much because, well, I'll show you in just a minute. If you're the person making $30,000 and to pull yourself out of the financial rat race, you need to be making $90,000, then what's that progress look like over time? I like to visualize these sorts of things because it makes it just a little bit more real and tangible. If you're starting at $30,000 per year and assume a yearly 3% raise, then it'll take you 37 years to make $90,000 per year. 37 years is longer than most of you have been alive, and in my opinion, is not acceptable. We need this to happen a heck of a lot faster, so we either need to rob a bank or do this. With that same projection planner, we can see what would happen if we used an alternative strategy. If every 3 years you switched employers or say changed jobs within your current employer and got a 10% bump every time, then it would take you 22 years to go from $30,000 to $90,000. Following the alternative plan would leave you with an extra $272,000 over 22 years and $1.5 million over the next 40. By the way, this is where I got the $1.5 million number. 22 years might still be unacceptable to you, and that's perfectly fine. Being able to visually project this future income will help you determine if it's even possible based on where you're at. It'll also give you that time frame as well as get you thinking of ways to improve on it. You can get a free copy of this multi-million dollar income planner down in the description below where you can kind of update and manipulate the numbers based on whatever you want to put in there. Last month I was working with a guy on his income and spending to try to improve his overall money situation. After talking with him about different past decisions and going through his numbers, it became extremely clear where the problem was. And it's actually a trend that I see among a lot of different people. Up until this point, he hadn't considered the long-term effects of his larger purchases. Before I get too deep into this, let me make one thing very clear. There isn't any issue with spending money in general. In my opinion, it should be a very enjoyable process. There isn't even anything wrong with spending money on larger purchases either. The problem arises when you make each purchasing decision in a vacuum without taking your overall financial situation into account. Next thing you know, you have overextended yourself in a bunch of different areas, and you're left in this constant cycle which makes you feel like you will never get out of this financial rat race. If you can afford to buy a $20,000 car, but in the heat of the moment decide to bump it up to, I don't know, $25,000 because you can get something a little nicer, then what's the big deal? An additional 25%, an extra $83 per month isn't so bad in the grand scheme of things, right? It depends. Can you afford the insurance increase that comes with this car? Can you afford the more expensive tires? How much did you already overextend yourself on your home purchase? How much do you spend on food every month? Are you going to be able to replace your AC unit at home if it goes out tomorrow? Are you properly funding all of your retirement accounts? Everything, I mean everything else needs to be taken into account so you understand the long-term effects on your overall financial situation. If not, then you're just continuing to add more years to that financial rat race that you so desperately say that you want to get out of. By far the best way to avoid this pitfall before it becomes a problem is to have clear rules and guidelines for yourself with where your money should go. Whenever I go visit my 6-year-old niece, I let her invest with me while I'm in town. town. Basically, she gives me money when I arrive, then before I leave, I give her this money back with a little bit of interest. It's something I do with kids in my life to teach them those obvious money skills at a very young age. The other day I was FaceTiming with her and she was telling me about how she had gotten some money for the holidays. Now when I asked her what she was going to do with the money, she told me that she wanted to invest all of it just like Uncle Jarrad. That's when I realized I had messed up. I said, no. What you want to do is take that money and set some aside for investing, some aside for saving, and some aside for spending. I gave her clear rules and guidelines for what she should do when she gets money. It's no different for adults like us. The 50-30-20 method is a great percentage-based solution for this sort of thing. It gives you the ability to make sure that all of your expenses fit within your current income constraints. The nice thing about it is that as you make more money, the pie will naturally expand. So you don't have to feel bad about spending more money because you're covered in all of the other areas. Now here's the problem with this method. You're not 6 years old, so your current spending probably doesn't fit perfectly into that pie. If I had to guess, the area most people are cutting back on is with saving and investing. This is fine for now while you start organizing and prioritizing everything, but it is not acceptable long term. Because yes, getting out of the financial rat race right now is important, but we also need to make sure that we are taking care of the older you so that they are set up so they don't have to continue working for the rest of their life. The main goal with trying to fit all of your finances into that 50-30-20 method is to get an idea of what areas need to be adjusted. If you need help with this, then I'll have a link in the description to get a free copy of my personal finance review spreadsheet that's based on this specific method. Doing that initial 50-30-20 plan is level 1. After that, you can move on to level 2 where you're able to slightly customize it to your liking. So if you're someone who spends less on, say, your needs category, then you can reduce that part of the pie to increase one of the other two. For example, Jim only spends about 40% on his needs based on his current lifestyle. Because of that, he can spend more in the other two categories. If in the future Jim wants to get married to his girlfriend and they want to spend more on their needs because they want to buy a more expensive house, then they can easily adjust the percentages based on how it fits into their overall financial goals. If you truly want to free yourself from the financial rat race, you have to completely remove your idea of how things in the world should be. My employer should be paying me more money because I deserve it. Inflation should be lower than it is. Housing prices shouldn't be this expensive. Financially, I should be better off than I am, but I'm not because of this and that and this and that. Well, I should be a Harlem Globetrotter that gets paid in candy.
Yeah, you know what? I also want to be a Harlem Globetrotter and get paid in candy, but in the meantime, I need a job.
Just like our parents taught us growing up, life isn't fair. It never has been, and it never will be. Not sure about you, but when I was born, I didn't sign some imaginary contract with the universe guaranteeing how everything should be fair and work in my favor. As Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations 1800 years ago, external things are not the problem. It's your assessment of them, which you can erase right now. I also love this part from the show, Mr. Robot.
You think people out there are getting exactly what they deserve? No. They're getting paid over or under, but someone in the chain always gets bamboozled.
So instead of blaming things outside of your control, your time and effort is better spent worrying about the things that you can accomplish with that very limited number of hours that you have every single day. The highlight reel paradox is also another reason that it's very difficult to get yourself out of the financial rat race. You click around social media and see what everyone else is up to. New homes, new cars, vacations, maxing out all their retirement accounts, delicious food, watches, jewelry, new clothes, and a face full of Botox. That's what my grandpa would call too much fish for the tacos. Then you close the app and are immediately sucked back into your reality. With everything that you just saw fresh in your mind, you start comparing everyone else's highlight reel to your behind the scenes footage. Because let's be honest, everyone is just showing you the best shot with the perfect angle in the perfect lighting, and it's probably been heavily edited. It begins to warp your brain into feeling like you either need to overspend to buy those things to play some imaginary game of catch up, or that there's no way you'll ever be able to afford any of it, which sends you down a path of hopelessness. But do you actually know anything about what's going on behind the scenes for them to be able to get those things? What's their overall financial picture look like? What's their net worth? What's their income? How much debt? Did they get an inheritance? How many hours per week do they work? How much do they save for retirement? It's just like this or any other video that you watch on YouTube. You only see the finished product, but what you don't see are the insane amounts of hours and money poured into video ideas, brainstorming, testing out thumbnail ideas, research, planning, writing, lighting, that rhymed, filming, editing, and things like those free spreadsheets that I'm giving you. You didn't see me working on a $1,000 sponsorship deal for this video that I ultimately turned down because the scumbag company tried to slip some very questionable things into the contract. The reality is no matter how polished things look on the outside, everyone has messy behind the scenes footage. I'm not even saying that anything going on behind the scenes can be labeled as good or bad. It's just a part of the process and you only get to see the final product. So the next time you see anything on the internet and it makes you feel bad about where you're at financially, just remember that there is always more to the story. And just like the Wizard of Oz, you might not like what you see when you look behind the curtain. Seneca wrote about this same problem over 2,000 years ago. He said, however much you possess, there's someone else who has more, and you'll be fancying yourself to be short of things you need to the exact extent to which you lag behind him. If I came to you and said that I want to get better at, I don't know, drawing, then what would you suggest I do to improve? Maybe take an online course, maybe work with a teacher, or you might suggest practicing drawing every single day. It's the same thing if you want to get better with money to the point of being able to pull yourself out of the financial rat race. Learning how to get better with money is just like any other skill that you are trying to learn. It takes deliberate practice to get better. This is probably one of the most valuable skills to learn too, because everyone's life, no matter how old you are, revolves around money. Income and intelligence is almost irrelevant to this conversation as well, because I know very smart people who earn $250,000 per year that have no clue what they're doing with money. And I also know people of average intelligence with the same income who know exactly what to do with money. One has chosen to work on their money skills and the other has not. Which one do you think is going to be better off a couple years from now? Get your free copy of those spreadsheets and a way to work with me one-on-one down in the description below. Hit that thumbs up button to help support the channel. Done.